Tonight, my guest for this portion is Mr. Darron Cash. He's the Free National Movement's candidate for the Carmichael constituency. A former senator, Mr. Cash also serves as chairman of the board of the Bahamas Development Bank. He was the FNM's national treasurer between 2003 and 2005 and presently serves as party vice chairman. Mr. Cash, welcome to the Sawyer Report. It's good to have you here.
Jerome, it's a pleasure to be with you.
I'm glad we can finally get this opportunity to talk. You certainly are no stranger to the Bahamian public. They would have known you over the years in various capacities. But for those who may not know or may have forgotten or need some reminding, let's begin by talking about who is Darron Cash.
Well, I am at heart a strong Bahamian committed to public service. As I said to the Bahamian people during our party's national launch, I got started in the Key Club organization of St. Augustine's College, and it instilled in me a very strong desire to serve others. I mean, that's what the organization is committed to. And since 1982, when I joined, Darron Cash is defined as fundamentally someone who is committed to getting involved and making a difference in everything that I do. The beautiful thing about life in the Bahamas is we are blessed in so many ways on a personal level, and we have a responsibility to ensure that we take some of that blessing and give something back to others by making a difference. And so I have done so, whether as a student in college, here and abroad, and as a professional as well. There's always been an opportunity to do something to make things better for those who didn't have the kinds of opportunities that I have. So who I am is defined by a career of public service.
You are doing, I guess you're doing it in reverse to a certain degree to some other individuals who sort of get into politics to become known. But you have established yourself within the community aside from politics. Does that make it a little easier for you?
It does, because just take, for example, the case that I'm making to the people in Carmichael, who have said to me, and quite openly, look, we are the kind of people who we think politicians ought to speak to our interests. Our experience on a national level is that there are too many politicians who, after they're elected, you never see them, or they're people you've never seen or heard of before, and now they come to you and say, I'd like to represent you, I'd like to be a part of making a difference in the community. And in fact, it's easier for me to make my case because people know that, as I've said, for 30 years I've been involved in rolling up my sleeves and doing things to improve the lives of people, not in ways that benefit me directly, but in ways that make a difference to other people. And I bring 30 years of experience of saying, look at the things that I have in fact done when you think about whether or not I'm either one, going to be around and involved, or two, whether or not you think I'm going to speak to the things that are important to you that may not be as important to some of my colleagues. And I say to them, you can actually look at my record and see that that is the kind of leader that I've been, that's the kind of work that I have been doing. And so in that regard, it makes it easier.
I will be honest with you, there are people who, myself included, who were a bit surprised by your nomination because you were very critical of some policies of the FNM, and it seemed as if there was some distance between you and this party under which you had once served as a senator and national treasurer, but then the announcement of your candidacy. What was it that brought Darron and the FNM seemingly back together?
Well, the thing that I'm able to say conclusively to your listeners and watchers is that we were never apart. We were never apart, and I've been quite open in expressing this point of view. There are a lot of differences that, well, I should say, within the last year and a half or two, people have seen that I've taken a public position on some differences. What they have not seen are all of the instances where inside the party, I and many others have taken strong views that were different from the leadership of the party, but these were never things that got into the public domain. So there have been many instances where we've had different points of views on what public policy ought to be, on what government position ought to be on certain issues. Not all of them have risen to the level of a BTC, as an example. And so we were never a part. I'm happy to say that I am a part of an organization where not everyone always welcomes disagreement, but our party is one where, when it arises, we have a grown-up organization and people are okay with it. And they understand that no organization, especially a political one, will be a monolith of opinion. People will disagree, and that's what makes the organization stronger. So to me, this is not making up. This is an affirmation of the fact that we are an organization that has a big tent, a lot of strong personalities who sometimes disagree.
What or how did you end up in the Carmichael constituency? And what are you proposing to bring to the people of that area?
Well, I ended up there because in a lot of ways it's home to me. I mean, as I said before, my family still lives there, and we moved there in 1978 at a time when...
Hardly anyone was there.
Exactly. The idea of Carmichael being a city 2000 was far...
I lived in Coral Harbour in the 80s, so I know I would drive through.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. The reality is that the principal theme of my campaign is one of empowerment. But true empowerment, not in the political claptrap, no substance way that the opposition is talking about empowerment. I'm talking about getting to the root of the issues. There are, I mean, Carmichael, just as an example of the nonsense that you hear. I heard Mr. Johnson say on a public platform that the middle class has all but been eliminated. And clearly he must be canvassing somewhere else, because the community that he seeks to represent understands that that is just utter nonsense.
This is your opponent, Tanny Johnson?
Yes,
okay.
Right. There is very much still a solid middle class in Carmichael. The reality is a lot of them are looking for work. We do have a number of students in school, both high school, some in college, many in college, who are looking to move to the next level. And for them, that is, for those who don't have jobs, we need to make sure that they have the skills required to find jobs in an increasingly competitive environment. That's issue number one for me. So as the Member of Parliament, my aim is to bring all of the constituents together, business, church, and civic groups, to work on actually building a stronger sense of community where we provide the young people who are in the job market with the skills that they need to stand out in a competitive environment. We are focused very heavily on the agenda to transform education, because we have far too many people who are coming out of school in an increasingly competitive environment without the necessary skills to do well even in entry-level jobs. And to me, that means we've got to have the courage of our convictions to focus on overhauling the system. We're focusing on immigration as well, both legal and illegal immigration, because, as I say to the people in Carmichael, for the overwhelming majority of them, the expatriate that they're concerned with isn't the gentleman or the lady who came here struggling for their life trying to find a better way. It's the person who came here on a work permit, college educated, well-trained, who is doing something that we ought to be training a Bahamian to do. And that's where my energy... Now, some of them may have no intention of leaving. So when I talk about legal immigration, I'm talking about let's make sure that our systems are such that we're giving Bahamians a fair shake at those jobs.
Why should the constituents of Carmichael elect Darron Cash? What is he going to do for them in Parliament that is different or that may not have been done before?
The people of Carmichael have said to me, and I'll speak to specifically what they have said to me. They said to me, look, we're not the kind of people who need a lot, but we want to elect someone who is going to be accessible, someone who is going to represent our views, someone who we know is going to work once they are elected. Look at the 30 years that I've been involved in really making a difference and contrast that with the other gentlemen who are running, and you will see that they have no record to speak of because they've not been doing anything. They've spent their time enriching themselves, which is fine, but don't say to the people of Carmichael that, well, I've now arrived to come and serve you, when there's someone who has demonstrated in very tangible ways that he's always been committed to service. And I'm speaking to the issues that are important to them. They want a voice, where they have an opportunity to elect someone who is consistently being a voice to tackle issues that may not always be popular, but are the right things. And that's the kind of representative that I hope to be. And I am one of them, I remind them.
Darron Cash, thank you very much. We wish you the best of luck. Elections are tough, I say to every candidate, but good luck. You've got a lot of work ahead of you, and certainly we'll keep an eye on you and on that race, and we're going to see what happens at the end of it.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be with you.
And thank you for coming.